is Alexandre Mestre, and today the topic of our discussion is Olympic Committee, International Olympic Committee. I have just very easy questions for you. When it was created?
1904, I think so. A few years later of the first Olympic Games, 1996.
Yes, right. 1894. Yes, 125 years ago, more or less. So, can you tell something?
At the beginning, it was a very small entity with only a few members, so it was nothing compared to nowadays.
So they had none. Okay. Talking about Olympic Committee, how is it like built inside? Can you say something about, say, like a couple of words about executive board?
Well, the executive board, as you know, in all different associations, and we're talking about an association, a Swiss association, you need a deliberative organ, which is the session, and you need someone, an entity to the daily routine, I would say, to organize the executive body. So that's the executive committee that develops the policies defined by the session and by the president.
So it consists of the president and
several other members of the member.
Okay, and they also have the honorary president.
Honorary president, yeah.
So what's up here? What's the name of the honorary president?
Juan Antonio Samaranch, I believe.
Yes. And what's the name of the one who was like the 8th Olympic Committee president?
The 8th?
Yes. Do you remember?
No, I don't remember. When was it? In which decade?
From 2001 till 2013.
Oh, it was Jacques Hogan.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And actually, now he is honorary president, and he was announced to be.
So you have more than one honorary president, which is not also typical from international federations or organizations like Olympic ones. Yes, someone that devoted a lot to the Olympic movement, so that he must remain as a president.
All right. Any ideas why they chose him? Why Jacques?
Well, Jacques Hogan was a very important president after Juan Antonio Samaranch, which is not very easy. So the transition period between the professionalism and the gigantism of the Olympics that were enacted by Samaranch, with also the developing agency, the Court of Arbitration for Sport, everything that was TV rights, everything that was created by Samaranch. It was very difficult to have a transition. So Jacques Rogge was the guy that took the hands to develop a new IOC, and I think he did his job in a very discreet but very effective manner. So he really deserved it.
He deserved it. He deserved it.
Yes.
Okay. So okay. One fact that caught my attention when I was learning his biography, and happened when he was president, and I'm talking about 2012 Summer Olympics. He rejected to call for a minute of silence to be held in honor of 11 Israeli Olympians killed like 40-something years ago in the Munich Olympic Games. Why do you think he did it? Why do you think he rejected it?
Well, the president of the IOC must be the first one respecting the Olympic Charter. And the Olympic Charter states that the Olympic Games and all the different agents of the Olympic world should be apolitical. There must be a neutrality in their behavior, so that the president should not have a statement in favor of Israel or against Israel, in favor of Palestine or against Palestine, because any kind of statement has a political interpretation, so that he probably, I don't know, probably
But
he
can I
wants to
interrupt
remain
you?
neutral. Yes, of
Can
course.
I interrupt you here? But do you remember that it's happened during Olympic Games?
Yes, but it's not. The Olympic Games was a pretext. The 72 Munich terrorist attack was a pretext. So sometimes sport is the right tool to political propaganda, and the word is exactly propaganda. And it's also, for instance, forbidden in the Olympic Charter. In the venues of the Olympic Games, it's forbidden any kind of political propaganda. So that it should remain, and also the National Olympic Committees, they should avoid, also according to the Olympic Charter, avoid any political statements in their own countries. So apart from happened in the venues in '72, apart from that, if you want to remain apolitical, you should, I wouldn't say you should delete history, because it happened. It's something that we must learn out of it, but you should not take a position.
So no political influence?
No political influence.
No.
That's why, for instance, sometimes when you have some governments that try to interfere in the sports movement, IOC condemns this kind of intervention, because IOC wants the politics to be completely outside of the world. But Jacques Rogge, curiously, he was also very important to convince some politicians that Olympic Charter must prevail towards Olympic legislation, for instance. I remember with Silvio Berlusconi and with Vladimir Putin discussing the application of some laws that were against the Olympic regulation, the Olympic Charter, and Jacques Rogge, with his diplomatic manner of dealing with things, was making a breach and tried to convince them that politics must be apart from the games.
Okay. And how would you act in issues? How would you act in issues? What would you do? Do you take the same decision, or?
To be apolitical, yes. Now I'm remembering also, according to the Olympic Charter, the only officials that can make speeches, namely on the opening ceremony, are from the Olympic world. You don't have speeches from politicians. So once again, they want to separate two different pillars. Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk a bit about IOC session and IOC members. How many members do you have currently? Do you remember?
The maximum, according to the Olympic Charter, 115. But I think that nowadays it might be 102, 108, something like that.
Yes, 102. Yes. And none of them is from Portugal.
Yes, unfortunately.
But why?
Well, we had one member, but he left. So after that, it was not possible to nominate again a Portuguese. It's a pity. It's true that according to the Olympic Charter, they're not representing the country, their own country, within the IOC, but exactly the opposite. Since you are a member, you're representing the IOC in the respective country.
Okay.
So we should not wait from a Spanish member to be in the IOC defending Spanish interests. But even though it would be interesting for us to have a Portuguese there. And we had Lima Bell, and it's public, Rosa Mota was supposed to be there, but unfortunately it was not possible.
Okay, all right. And
but adding something to that, out of those 102, maximum 115, there are some countries that have several members. So we have some countries with 4 members of their own nationality, and other countries, it's not only the case of Portugal, without a representative there.
So, and talking about it, how do they select it?
It's a kind of only the representatives from the athletes are elected, and the rest are kind of cooptation. That's why, and this is a system that backs to Pierre de Coubertin. In a way, some people say that it's a kind of very in an inner circle. Those that are there choose the others that are coming. Some people criticize and say that it's not a good methodology of governance, democracy, etc. but in a way they want to safeguard the characteristics of those that are there. Because, for instance, the session has a tremendous importance adopting amendments to the Olympic Charter. So the right person might be there, and it's for the session to decide who's going to host the Olympic Games. So you must preserve the credibility, integrity, independence of those that are there, and for sure you must have people that are devoted to the Olympic world and are aware of the topics. Yeah.
Right. And talking about general meeting, it's held once a year. What are the usual discussion? What are the topics?
It depends, because the Olympic world is no longer to define the organization of the event or the relationship between the IOC, the organizing committee, or the National Olympic Committees. Nowadays, the Olympic world is much more than that. So it depends on the agenda. Nowadays, I would say, I'm not following that close nowadays, but I would say that governance issues are on the topic, compliance, match fixing, everything that is related to integrity in sports, the new sports that are arriving, for instance, the e-sports, should e-sports be integrated in the Olympic program. So I think that the agenda depends on what is happening in the sports world in general, and not specifically in the organization of the event in itself.
Okay. And can any member of the IOC raise a question?
I'm not aware of that. I'm not aware of it, but I believe so. But it's, apparently it's not written anything about that in the Olympic Charter, as far as I remember.
And besides this 102 members, they also have, if I'm not mistaken, 41 honorary members and 2 owner members. And among these 41 honorary members, there is one from Portugal.
It might be Limabel, for sure, the former.
Yes, do you agree with the choice?
Well, it's inherent. Since you leave, you remain as non-honorary member, and he was a sports person. He was an athlete, a former athlete, and he was very important, also very diplomatic, and very important in putting Portugal on the map within the Olympic family. I agree. Yeah.
And who would you personally grant to be an honorary member? Who would you choose to be an honorary member?
Someone that maybe Kofi Annan.
Why?
Maybe Kofi Annan. Why? Because the Olympic truth is something that still remains written in the Olympic Charter. Back to Olympia, back to the ancient Olympic Games, and Kofi Annan was very important for the development of the Olympic Truth Foundation, and also to keep to remain in the modern Olympic Games this tradition of non-bellic scenario during the period of the Olympic Games, and he was very important to make this relationship with the United Nations and the IOC, and the recommendations approved within the General Assembly of the United Nations in favor of peace within the Olympic Games. It's curious that you can find unanimity in those resolutions of the United Nations. It's very difficult to get unanimity within the United Nations. It's precisely the Olympic Games, something that gathers the country.
So you're aware that Henry Kissinger is also an honor member?
Yeah.
Why?
Well,
for me it was like a bit of strange choice, you know. I don't know.
No, with his diplomatic experience, with his realpolitik approach, it's useful. It's useful for sport to have those people with world. And the Olympic Games is universal, so if you have an universal context, you might meet people that are aware of the culture of the different countries, geography, sensibility, religion. So you might have diplomats, why not?
So there are currently 73 international federations recognized by IOC. What factors influence IOC to recognize one?
Well, I give you the example of esports. It's a non-written requirement, but the current president Bach said we're not going to admit this esport as a sport due to the violence. So it's very important that the sport in itself is a universal sport and is recognized by in the whole world.
Okay. Do you favor any sport that is not recognized by IOC?
Well, it depends on the criteria. There's no definition of sport in the Olympic Charter. The single definition that you find is in the European Sports Charter, and it's mainly a physical activity than a mental activity. But it's demonstrated, and I've already done some contacts on this area, that you need physical activity, you need exercise in order to be prepared to do that. So it could be a sport. So after being a sport and after being spread for the different continents, I see no worries on including it, but I understand that since it's still violent in some cases, the Olympic Games should not adopt as a sport and include it as a member, a constituent of the Olympic movement, a federation that is not promoting the true sport.
Okay. So I'll give you one example. So you're familiar with free diving? Free diving without scuba diving without scuba.
Not familiar, but I'm aware.
Yes, I was practicing free diving for several years, and I had some really good results from it. So free diving is not recognized by IOC. Do you have any idea why? Because once it was recognized,
it's not for the rest of the life. You can be recognized and de-recognized afterwards. So it's not definitive.
Okay.
But in a way, maybe it might be the case that there are not enough practitioners all around the world. That might be
maybe it's because it's too dangerous.
Maybe too, yeah.
Yes,
but you also have other dangerous sports that belong to the even to the program, not only recognized by the IOC, but within the program. So I would say that it's the main criteria, but might be.
Recently, three divers from Italy, they made very fantastic movie. It's called From Le Grand to Olympic Dream. So if you have time, please watch it. It's really fantastic. It's short. It's really good. So moving to Olympic Charter. It's a kind of set of rules for for IOC and for Olympic Games. Can you tell now what are the Olympic values and ideals?
Well, friendship.
Yes.
Excellence?
No.
Not anymore excellence?
No. Solidarity?
Solidarity?
And?
Respect?
Fair play.
Fair play.
Yes. How do you understand them?
Well, I understand them as some principles, values, a philosophy of life, like is Olympic defined in the Olympic Charter, that are inherent to sport, are inherent to that philosophy of life and the way you behave. That's why they're enshrined in the Charter, and there's something that must be developed by any constituent of the Olympic movement. You cannot have sport without ethics, and sometimes we talk too much on the ethics in that scenario of we're fighting against doping, we're fighting against violence, we're fighting against corruption, but we don't promote the right values, the positive values of sport. So the Olympic context is definitely the right context to promote it. Sport creates self-esteem, friendship, respect for the other, solidarity between the different national Olympic committees, for instance. That's a practical example. We have the Olympic Solidarity that helps by fundraising the national Olympic committees with poor conditions to get a chance to promote sport at the grassroots, etc., and to participate in the Olympic Games. So that the main values of sport and Olympism should promote the positive values of sport.
Okay. The charter has 5 chapters. And how many articles?
I don't know anymore, but the last amendment was in October 2018, but it might have 60 something. Yeah.
61, exactly. Which one would you call the prima ballerina?
The what?
The prima ballerina. Do you know?
Ah, okay. I think the best part of the charter is the preamble.
Preamble.
Yes, because you can find there the principles and the big aim of the Olympic movement. But of course I would also mention the part of the protocol, that's very important, the part of the structure of the different organs of the IOC, the part of the justice. Probably the last articles are devoted to arbitration, which is also a creation from the International Olympic Committee to solve the disputes out of the courts. I must say that you can find the preamble definitely. The rest is very interesting because it's a document that is simultaneously the bylaws of the IOC, the relationship with the IOC, the National Olympic Committees, the international federations, athletes, and also the protocol. So it's a very comprehensive document, very important.
Do you think Portugal can be one day? I asked you already a similar question today about Olympic Games. So do you think your country one day could be in top 5 in Olympic Games?
No.
Never?
Not at all.
Even in summer?
Even
Summer games?
Yes, I've already been both in the summer and winter games, and I remember in Torino 2006 I was there for the open ceremony. We had only one athlete and 5 officials. So winter games we do understand why don't we have many athletes, but as far as summer Olympic Games is concerned, I would say that when you don't invest enough in sport and you don't give priority to sport in your own country, no chance to have a big delegation, no chance to have a lot of medals.
If you would find someone who would like to invest in your country, I mean, I'm talking about sport, what kind of sport would you like to start with?
We have a lot of high-level centers in our country, even more than we need. 15 high-level centers from different sports. And you have a lot of international athletes also preparing for the Olympic Games, coming here. Nautic sports, surf, rowing, canoeing,
Swimming?
Swimming too, yes, nearby Lisbon. We have a fantastic high-level center for badminton too, athletics, sailing, football, field hockey. The president of the International Federation was here a couple of years ago saying this is one of the best in the world. So we have fantastic, facilities in our country, fantastic weather. So to do preparation for the Olympic Games, it's the right place to come.
Yes. Do you think position of Russia in the IOC will improve one day?
Why should it be improved? I would not distinguish Russia from the others. I think that countries should always help the Olympic movement. And the members of the National Olympic Committee, individual members, the Russian, the Spanish, the Belgian, the Italian, should also do the same. I think that it's not up to the IOC and to the Russian government to understand it as a field of political debates.
So you think This misunderstandings between Russia and USA are just some gossips.
Well, I don't consider that the main focus that we have to look when we talk about the Olympic Games.
So no influence, no political influence.
No, as I told before, it's completely. That might be an absolute separation between. Of course, the 80s, the 1980 and 1984 Olympic Games were examples of trying to transpose the Cold War in a way to the Olympic world. When you have rankings, non-official rankings, and you compare the medals between the United States and Russia, for instance, but precisely the rankings are not allowed according to the Olympic Charter because we don't want to have a comparison between countries. That's why also the Olympic Charter states that the Olympic Games are competition between athletes and not between countries. So that's why I think that the angle should not be the relationship with a specific country and the IOC, respectively of the importance of the country, of course.
So do you think the USA never used their power on the Olympic?
Well, when you host an event, you use a power because you're showing to the world, namely in the Olympic, in the opening ceremony. The ceremony is a cultural ceremony in which you try to show the world your history, your culture. If you organize quite well, and you were mentioning the 2011 games, for instance, the voluntaries were fantastic. If you organize quite well, you're showing to the world that you have a power to organize events, the discipline, the capacity to organize. It's something that demonstrates power. If you have enough money also to host an event, it demonstrates power. If you convince the IOC members to vote on your country to have a specific town to host the event, you're demonstrating power, but that should remain there.
Okay, good. Have you ever heard about Eugene Schwartz?
No.
Okay. He was a writer, and in 1944 he wrote a play tale named Dragon. Not Dragon Force. So I briefly tell you the essence of this book. Okay. This is a fairy tale about a wandering knight, Lancelot, who came to one country, and there, in that country, he killed a dragon. Because dragon ruled this country for 300 years in a terrible way. And while you read this fairy tale, it seems for you that as soon as Lancelot will kill this dragon, the life will be fine. But instead of him, instead of this dragon, came some insignificant, I would call them grayish officials, who don't possess these strong personal qualities. So my main and only questions because of it. Do you believe that any governing body could be changed simply by changing its leader?
No, for sure. That's why nowadays we're discussing about the governance, reorganization of a specific governing body inside. That's why we discuss the democracy within a certain organization, transparency, a fit and proper person dealing with a specific role within that organization. That's why we talk about compliance, separation of powers, ethical and codes, conduct codes, professionalism, and even the Olympic world had that problem, not only FIFA a few years ago, but after the Salt Lake scandal in 2000, the IOC enacted a big debate on how to transform the functioning of the IOC inside. So it's if you have a fantastic leader with a non-transparent organization, nobody knows who does what, and normally in sports you tend to concentrate powers. If you have those kind of organizations, even when the lead is fantastic, it's not going to work, and exactly the opposite. When you don't have a very good leader, but the organization works quite well, it might arrive to certain achievements, but you need really to do it inside.
Mm-hmm. So you need to change the machine, this life machine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the president is very important because he's a leader, but represents the organization, of course. The world perception of the leader is very important for the credibility of such organization, but if it doesn't work to fulfill the objectives, there's no big advantage to have a tremendous president.
Okay. Well, it's not our question for today, but I'll ask you. You mentioned FIFA already. And a few years ago, in my eyes, it was definitely a campaign against Mr. Blatter. So do you think, as soon as they changed him, as soon as they replaced one president to another one, do you think the situation within FIFA has changed?
It has been developing, and once again with some changes in its governance, and even trying. I remember Gianni Infantino, when he arrived, he said one of the first things that I want to implement in FIFA is the limitation of mandates. Blatter did a good job during a certain period of time, but afterwards, maybe he was there for a long period of time, and it's not only FIFA issue, it's all around the world in different sport organizations. So that's an practical example of governance reforms. Human rights, for instance, FIFA pays too much attention now to that, to women, to get more women involved in the field of football. So it's a process, but once again, it depends on the members. And in that case, the national federations have a very important role, because in the FIFA Congress, they decide.
Okay. Thank you very much for you.
Thank you. Sorry, but you were raising some questions regarding the session and so on that I don't pay attention for them for more than 10 years, so that's why.
Well, it's all right. It's all right. I hope it was not our last discussion on Olympic.
I hope so. I will restart reading about the topic.
Okay. Once again, thank you very much.
Thank you.